All right, first thing, youth camp. It was awesome this year. It was a totally different pace than it's ever been before. And talk about Kathy's stories, which are pretty good. Larry was a tremendous speaker. He got out there and he talked about Jesus feeding 3,000 people. He told his disciples, he said, it's getting late. Don't send them on the road. Send them home hungry. Half of them will pass out along the way. He said, well, how are we supposed to feed them? Let them go to the ends, He said, no, we can't do that. He said, give me what food you have. And the disciples all got together, and they came up with 7 little biscuits. Just 7 little biscuits. It's like, what's this? Well, it's like Larry did. He said, did Jesus sit there and go, hey, I don't want your 7 little biscuits. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to use this? Is he jumping up and down saying, get these out of my face? I mean, what's your problem here? Okay? It's like, no, he took those 7 biscuits, and he blessed them, and he gave them to them, and he told them to distribute them. And he fed those 3,000 people with 7 little biscuits. Every person here has something. You may not be able to sing or play an instrument or be able to speak, but you have to give him what you have. You give him what you have and he'll use it in one way or another, no matter what it is. If it's just being there, you may keep someone from going off the deep end just by being there to talk or picking up one of these youth. Say if one of these youth kids have a problem, just going to pick them up. Just every little thing counts. He also came up and he said, okay, I want you guys here to repeat after me. With God.
With God.
No. That ain't it. I said with God, not with God. I will. Change. With God. I will. Change. My world. Each one of you is your own church. It's not coming here. It's a bond when you're here. But when you're out in that world, you have to rely on yourself and God to get you through the day and to go with other people. Just anything. Just a little thing. Me and my buddies were out the other night. And my cousin Lee happened to leave Christian rap tape in my stuff. Oh, I took it with me. And I popped it in there and he's like, hey man, this ain't half bad, There's a couple parts on there he started laughing at, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? And he's a Catholic. Every little thing you do influences someone else. Just, you have to change your world. Like with Gideon. This is another story, Larry. Gideon had 32,000 men. And God said, you have too many men. Wait a minute here. Hold on. What you talking about? We have 32,000 men. I'm going up against these guys. They have 100,000 or something here? And it's like, I'll tell you what you do. He's like, Gideon's like, all right, He was afraid the first evening. He's like, you tell your men, whoever's afraid, go home. 22,000 men left. He's left with 10,000 men. This guy's like, you have too many men. Wait a minute. I just got rid of 22,000 men. I'm going to fight 100,000. Something's wrong here. I'm just not getting this. So he said, well, just trust me. Okay. Said, he goes down to the riverbank. Says, those that kneel and lap it up, you get rid of. And get rid of. And the ones that drink from the cans, keep. And he kept those 300. I remember this. It's amazing. He kept the 300 men. And, he was like, man, I don't know how we're going to do this. 300 men, we're fighting. Something must be up here, But they all had faith. Those 300 men had faith. So they go up and he said, arm yourselves with clay pots. I won't beat him over the head with a clay pot. Okay! Let's see here. And torches. What? Do I look like an idiot? Put a spotlight on my head and say, shoot me, I'm here. I don't understand. It's just like, okay. But they had faith. They went up there and they had their trumpets. Trumpet, man. What am I going to do with the trumpet? Some guy come up with a sword, I'm going to block it, stick it to his belly button, now pop! What's it going to do? Just make him more mad, come after me? I'll block it, okay? Blow in his ear, yeah, that's it. All right, I'll do it. And they go up, and what do he say? Now this is, I do forget what he says. I know that part, what did he say? Okay. So they go out and they circle the camp. And God told him, say, the blast of your horn, say, sword for the Lord. And they all went up, they had their torches on, they blew their horns and said, a sword for the Lord. And they broke their clay pots. I don't know if I have the right order, but it's close enough. You get the point. And there was so much confusion in there that all of them killed each other. This 100,000. 300 men defeated an army of over 100,000. And the point is, in other words, it's better for God to say, have 32 people who are going to go out into the world and be one with Him and be able to, full-heartedly go out and say, I'm a Christian. I'm not hiding behind no one. I'm not going to play anyone's games. Then have 300 or 3,000, whatever, to go out and half-heartedly do it and not really put anything into it. Just be there. What was that? You got to repeat after me this part too. This church ain't no sissy. This church ain't no wimp. This church ain't gonna play no games. And it's not in here that you do what you're gonna do. You got to go out to the world and show them who you are and what you stand for. That's what I got to say.
That last story that Mike told, Larry Mitchell is quite involved in missionary work. And it's not just missionary work that takes people overseas, but takes people into the inner cities. And the story that Mike concluded with was about a fellow that ran a rescue mission. I think it was in New York City, wasn't it? His name was Curly. And as I understand the story, he didn't have any hair at all, so whether he got the name Curly, I don't know. But this fellow was a former prison inmate. And he was saying that the church is a wimp. And Larry said, that's true. The hundreds of people that were coming into this rescue mission just on that one block were people that were hungry, people that were messed up on drugs. He said, the church is sitting idly by while my people are dying. The Lord would rather have a handful of people with a heart full of love and conviction for the lost than a city the size of Chillicothe where the church is just going through the motions. I think we've had too much of just going through the motions. It's time that we stop being a sissy and stop being a wimp spiritually. Let's get our hands dirty for the Lord and get busy. One passage I want to close with is out of Romans 12, verse 2. This shirt, Kathy and Debbie got this shirt from me last year after something I said at one of the open discussion groups. And I guess if this passage of Scripture for these guys and for all of us, as we go back out into our world, because in a way, youth camp is pretty safe. Because there we are with believers. And the world is pretty much kept outside. But now we're back out in it. We're in the fray. And I don't know if you can tell or not, maybe you've seen these shirts. And he's going against the stream against all these terrible-looking fish, or as Larry would say, the nastyites. The nastyites are coming at him. And it says, go against the flow. That's not the world's philosophy. The world's philosophy is roll with the punches and go with the flow. Like the dead fish. You people that like to go out down to the stream or down to the river and you see dead things or driftwood that just floats wherever the current takes it. Well, that's what happens in the world. We get caught up in the flow. And wherever the current takes us, that's where we go. Go against the flow. And out of Romans 12:2, it says, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." Last year, about a year ago, I think it's tomorrow night was the date that we gathered together like this, and many of you will remember this because you were here. We had a rock that was sitting out here on the communion table. And we told you last year what that rock stood for. It bore witness to all of those commitments that the young people made. And that Sunday night here in the sanctuary, we had all of you that were in the congregation come up and pray for these people. And I said to you, this rock bears witness against you if you don't keep your commitment to pray throughout the course of the year for these young people. My question tonight is, and this is where you and God have to get together, did you keep that commitment over the last year? I hope you did. I think maybe some of you did, because there have been great strides taken by many of our young people over the course of the year. Not only those sitting here, but those in our audience. There have been many that have stood fast over the past year and have served God, and I believe prayer has a lot to do with that. I don't have a rock here tonight, but I would ask that you would make that commitment again to be at prayer for these young people.